My name is Ghostboy259 and I sailed the seas in Wavetale. One of the first videos I made on my main channel, Reality Escape, was on a game called Sea of Solitude, a game where two things stood out to me right away: a half-submerged city and an art style that just made me want to explore. When I first saw Wavetale, I saw those exact same two things. Well, in my Sea of Solitude video, I mentioned how story took priority over mechanics and the game wasn't necessarily meant to be fun. Wavetale gave us a different approach. If you want to watch me play through this game for the first time, you can find the highlighted videos at youtube.com/realityescapeplays. If you want to watch me play these games live, you can go to twitch.tv/ghostboy259. And if you want to get a bunch of these videos early or just support me in general, you can check out my Patreon. All the links are at realityescape.ca. Wavetale is a platforming game with some emphasis on exploration, but more so on discovery of things that are planted for you to discover, rather than vast emptiness for you to find something in. The game style is incredible. Characters' shadows have this intentionally blocky look that reminds me of old school games, but it just makes everything stand out. There's a slightly pixelated look and feel to everything without it feeling like they were trying to copy a dated style. It's somehow very modern. The characters have these very vibrant painted faces where besides the nose, everything is flat and drawn on, reminding me of old claymation shows like Henry's World for my fellow Canadians out there, or even something like Coraline. I'm pretty confident I've never seen anything like this in a game before, and sometimes that's a huge risk to break away from the norm, but in this case I adore the look and I have a feeling it attracted more people than pushing them away. The game doesn't worry too much about lip syncing or anything like that, and the more cartoonish style for the faces doesn't look silly or take you out of non-serious moments, and it helps add a lot of expression and emotion to scenes. A detail like this is honestly enough to make me love a game, even if it sucks. But luckily, Wavetale doesn't suck. Another thing before we get into mechanics, the music is phenomenal. I can't play it in this video, but it's got a great variety of electronic sounds, a lot of brass instruments, which makes exploring feel very important and groundbreaking. There's a few songs with clarinets and flutes that sound incredible and so lively, and the overall tone just has this great uplifting feel to it, like you're on a proper adventure. I highly recommend you take a listen to a few tracks yourself. I would personally divide the game into three sections: combat, which is more or less not really a thing; exploration, which is more or less not really a thing; and collection, which is more or less not really a thing. I'll be honest, it doesn't do anything particularly well, but as an altogether experience, it works. And minor spoilers ahead, I'm not going to mention anything, but it's a little unavoidable with the visuals, so if you're looking at the screen, you may be spoiled on some things. We'll start with the combat because it's fairly minimal. Throughout the game you have these little slime things you need to fight. Your options are a heavy attack and a light attack, and you can jump and attack down, but beyond that there aren't a ton of combos or anything. You'll also have these large sea creatures called striders who sit on top of the water, which you can hook onto and deal a few strikes, and beyond the final boss fight, that's kind of it for combat. These things do show up often enough, so it's not like you can completely avoid it, and you do have a health bar, but only once did I ever go below 2 hits, and the bar seems to refill both over time and as you hit enemies, but the game doesn't strike me as something that was intended to be much of a challenge. I've seen a lot of people state that the combat is their biggest point of criticism in this game, and while I do agree it is lackluster to the point where they almost don't need to put it in the game, I do think it was intentionally simple to put an emphasis on other mechanics. I think the developers probably knew it was lackluster, which is why it's not overbearing or bothersome, but it is there, and it just allows you to enjoy the rest of the experience without focusing too much on if you're gonna die and have to repeat a section over and over again. I really love the exploration in this game. However, the reason I say it's maybe not done the best is because it's not really exploration. You are in a large world that is somewhat open, but every direction you head is forced. You are exploring in the sense that you are going to places you've never been, but not in the sense that you find them on your own. It's more of discovery than exploration. That being said, the movement mechanics in this game are extremely fun, and in those moments of forced exploration, I found myself looking forward to just traveling around. If the whole game was just this movement, honestly, or if they found more ways to showcase it in a unique way, this would be an easy 10 out of 10 game for sure. I'm a sucker for great movement in games. There's just a flow to it that is so enjoyable. We have a pretty high jump and a double jump. Holding A will allow us to hover and glide, and we can surf on the water for story reasons, which pretty much no one else can do. And this is a majority of the traveling in this game. And just jumping around, diving in and out of the water, just feels so relaxing and fun. The music creates a great atmosphere that you can just listen to it and zone out. And the visuals changed enough so that it doesn't get dull. Honestly, in a lot of modern gaming, games with good movement is like half the battle, and I just feel like they nailed it here. You've also got the ability to hook onto certain places, reminiscent of the skyhook from BioShock Infinite, and it's just as fun as well, although the big difference here is that these areas are often connected to these slides that will also send you flying. There are also some parts of the game where you're challenged by this surfer to do some courses within a time limit, where you have to go fast enough and also pick up stopwatches to make sure you have enough time to get to the end, and it really shows the potential of the movement in this game. I wish this wasn't a mini game, but like more of the game. What's even better about these sections is that you don't even have to follow a set path. You can totally ignore the way it clearly intends for you to go as long as you make it to the end on time. Literally, if they just took this movement, turned it into some sort of racing game, or like put 15 more of these trials in here, I think that would be sick. I would buy that easily first day. The platforming isn't anything crazy. It's never particularly difficult to find where to go next. At worst, you may fall 2 or 3 times, but you probably won't get stuck anywhere. But for the vibe and atmosphere of the game, I think it's perfect, and it just feels so good to go flying around and see what ways you can get on top of what things. The last part of this game is collection, and if exploration is 49% of the game, then this is the other 49%. The 2% is combat, and then there's a lot of story as well. Throughout the game, you'll be collecting sparks, which are these larger creature type things that power buildings and machinery. Sparklings, which are not fully quite grown sparks that act as the game's currency to buy new outfits, which is also incredibly fun. I love outfits in games. And you'll be given the occasional fetch quest to go find something with quite literally no direction as to where to go, which is some people's vibe and not others. I'm neither here nor there on quest markers, but it is funny that a game with such simple mechanics as this doesn't have them. Everything is so easy you can barely die in combat, but hey, go find a diamond ring and you're on your own. There's not a ton of side quests in this game, and quite literally every single one revolves around just, hey, can you go pick this up for me because you can travel in the water and I can't? Unless I just never encountered it, I never found a, hey, fight these things, kill these things, turn this machine on quest. It was always someone losing something or needing to find somebody else. I did some of these where they were convenient, but oftentimes I skipped right by them because I just had no idea where an engagement ring and a giant flooded civilization would be, and I kinda had things to do. Despite the game's story adding a lot of urgency and tension to every movement, there really isn't any. You're free to explore the places open to you as much as you want, and you might even be rewarded with sparklings or side characters or mini quests. However, these characters will only be there to reward you with more sparklings, so if you're going to complete it all, it's more for the sense of completion than reward. Although, I will say again, the outfits are pretty great. You can see me in this video, I'm switching outfits constantly. In terms of story, I think Wavetale is best put a story about generational grief and trauma. You play as Sigrid, the daughter of Doris Skagerrak, both citizens of a now underwater settlement known as Strandville. We don't know much about the rest of the family, just that Sigrid's grandfather had passed before she was born, and that Iris, Sigrid's mom, is missing and most likely dead, but the grandmother refuses to accept that this is the case. There's this large evil presence called Gloom, and this is where the evil creatures come from, and you need to use Spark to power the machines that basically get rid of the gloom and keep the place safe. On your adventures, you'll encounter pirates, a crooked mayor, come to grips with the past, and ultimately attempt to put a stop to the gloom so that the civilization can begin to rebuild. The story itself is quite simple, nothing too complicated, but the undertones are quite nice. There's generations of people who have suffered severe trauma that they are all dealing with in their own ways, and it shows in how they interact with each other. It's surprisingly deep, all things considering. They're constantly throwing new little story things at you as you're traveling around, And the voice acting and animation are all really solid and pleasant to look at, so you do tend to pay attention when they're saying things. Overall, Wavetale took me about 6 hours to beat, which at its current price of $38.99 Canadian, I can't possibly recommend in good faith, unfortunately. However, the game constantly goes on sale for less than $2 Canadian, and for that price, I can't recommend enough that you pick it up and spend an evening with it. Just the movement of the water alone is calming and relaxing enough that it's worth that, in my opinion. Overall, I really did enjoy my time with Wavetale. It's cute, it's great to look at, easy to play, and creates a really fantastic atmosphere for a decent story to shine through. My name is Ghostboy259, and I played The Tale of the Waves. Next time, I'll play something else. Thanks for watching.
Deep breaths, my darling. Waves are crashing. We are still far from shore. No